Good day and a very warm welcome once again to one and all. On today's session, our topic would be points to take care while handling food. A bit about myself, Sheetal Gupta, an assistant professor at the AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology based in Pune. My email address is mentioned here. For any further queries, kindly do not hesitate to contact me and I shall be glad to revert back to you. So let us begin on points to take care while handling food. A basic introduction to the topic. A critical part of healthy eating is keeping food safe. Individuals in their own home can reduce contaminants and keep the food safe to eat by following safe food handling practices. Four basic food safety principles work together to reduce the risk of foodborne illnesses. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. These four principles are the cornerstones of Fight Back, a national public education to promote food safety to consumers and educate them on how to deal and handle food properly. The first part, washing hands with soap and water. Wet hands with clean running water and apply soap. Use warm water if available. Rub hands together to make a lather and scrub all parts of the hand for 20 seconds. Rinse hands thoroughly and dry using a clean paper towel. If possible, use a paper towel to turn off the faucet. Hence, wash your hands very well. Number two, sanitize the surfaces. Surfaces should be washed with hot soapy water. A solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach per gallon of water can be used to sanitize all the surfaces. Clean, sweep refrigerated foods once a week. At least once a week, throw out refrigerated foods that should no longer be eaten. Cooked leftovers should be discarded after 4 days. Raw poultry and ground meats in 1 to 2 days. Keep your appliances clean. Clean the insides and the outsides of all appliances. Pay particular attention to the buttons and handles where cross-contamination to your hands can occur. Rinse the produce. Rinse fresh vegetables and fruits under running water just before eating, cutting or cooking. Even if you plan to peel or cut the produce before eating, it is essential to thoroughly rinse it first to prevent the microbes from transferring from outside to the inside of the produce. Separate foods when shopping. Place all the raw seafood, meat and poultry in plastic bags. Store them below ready-to-eat foods in your refrigerator. Separate foods when preparing and serving. Always use a clean cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for raw seafood, meat and poultry. Never ever place cooked food back on the same plate or chopping board that previously held raw food in order to avoid cross-contamination. Cook and chill. Use a food thermometer when cooking. A food thermometer should be used to ensure that food is safely cooked and that the cooked food is held at the safe temperatures until consumed. Cook food to safe internal temperatures. One effective way to prevent illness is to check the internal temperatures of the seafood, meat, poultry, and egg dishes. Cook all raw beef, pork, lamb, and veal steaks, chops, and roasts to a safe minimum internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit for safety and quality. Allow the meat to rest for 3 minutes before carving or eating. Cook all the raw ground beef, pork, lamb, and veal to an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Cook all your poultry, including ground turkey and chicken, to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep food at safe temperatures, or rather, may I say, keep food outside the danger zone. Hold cold foods at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Keep hot foods at 140 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Foods are no longer safe for consumption when they have been in the danger zone between 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 2 hours. The danger zone is an effective tool which measures between 6 degrees to 72 degrees Celsius. Food must be either lesser than 6 degrees Celsius or more than 72 degrees Celsius to be safe for human consumption. Let me now produce and show you a video on practices for food safety handling. Kindly pay attention to this video, which will give you all the points to consider while handling food. Pay attention, please.
Hello, my name is Chad Waters, and I'm a registered environmental health specialist with Central District Health. This video is intended to cover the basics in food safety. Through examples shown here, you should learn enough to be fairly knowledgeable in how to prepare food safely in your establishment. There are many reasons to learn about food safety. First, foodborne illnesses are responsible for approximately 76 million illnesses, 235,000 hospitalizations, and 5,000 deaths in the United States each year. The cost of these illnesses is anywhere from $10 to $83 billion, and these are just reported illnesses. Actual costs could be much, much higher. Second, the cost to a food operation of having to deal with a foodborne illness is far greater than the cost of properly training employees. It only takes one mistake for an outbreak to occur, and it can severely hurt a business. Some of the costs might include lawsuits, increased insurance premiums, low employee morale, high turnover, which means training new employees, and negative media attention. Combined, these additional costs could result in closure of a food establishment. So as you can see, it is vital to practice food safety at all times. When we talk about what causes people to become sick from eating contaminated food, we group it into 3 categories or types: chemical, physical, and biological. Chemical contamination is easily described as some sort of harmful chemical getting into food, usually through improper storage or excess concentration. Physical contamination applies to objects that make their way into food, usually during preparation. Examples would be hair, bandages, fingernails, metal shavings, or parts of equipment. The third type of contamination is biological. This is what we'll focus on more than anything else. Biological contaminants are those small and most often microscopic organisms that are either a natural part of the food or are introduced into the food by improper handling. What are some of these biological contaminants that can cause illness? They're usually grouped into 5 categories: bacteria, viruses, parasites, protozoan, and fungus and yeast. Bacteria are single-celled and can grow anywhere. That means that bacteria do not need a living host, such as an animal or human, in order to reproduce. This is very important when we talk about food safety and the ability for bacteria to grow in certain types of food. Viruses are the second type of organism that can cause illness. Examples are hepatitis A and norovirus. Hepatitis B and C are not foodborne illnesses. Norovirus, sometimes known as the cruise ship virus, is very easily spread and can cause a lot of people to become sick at one time. The virus can also be spread for up to 2 weeks after symptoms are gone. That's why it's so important to practice good personal hygiene. It's also important to know that bacteria and viruses are not simply killed by freezing, cold holding, or hot holding. Throughout this video, we'll mostly be talking about bacteria and viruses. Parasites are typically common in fish, pork, and wild game. Cooking or freezing at specific temperatures, as well as purchasing food from approved sources, is important for parasite control. Protozoan, like viruses, must have a living host to reproduce. Examples are Giardia and Cryptosporidium. Fungus and yeast are the last group. Unlike bacteria, they require an acidic environment with low water activity. Fungus and yeast most typically cause food spoilage and are not usually a cause of foodborne illness. So what do bacteria need to reproduce? The best way to remember is by using the acronym FAT-TOM. The F in FAT-TOM stands for food. Bacteria need a high protein, high carbohydrate food source. Examples would be any meat, seafood, or poultry product, and any cooked plant food such as baked potatoes, pasta, and rice. The A in FAT-TOM stands for acidity. Bacteria cannot typically reproduce in a highly acidic food such as a lemon. The first T stands for temperature. Between 41 and 135 degrees, bacteria begin to rapidly reproduce. This is known as the danger zone. That's why it's so important to ensure that certain foods stay out of this temperature zone. The second T in FAT-TOM stands for time. If bacteria are given enough time in the temperature range between 41 and 135 degrees, then these organisms will start rapidly reproducing. The maximum amount of time that certain foods can spend in the danger zone is 4 hours. Time and temperature are very important in food safety to prevent rapid bacterial growth. The O in FAT-TOM stands for oxygen. Some bacteria require oxygen. These organisms are considered to be aerobic. Some do not require oxygen. These organisms are called anaerobic. The M in FAT-TOM stands for moisture. Bacteria need a moist food to grow in. Plain water has a water activity of 1.0. Bacteria require water activity of 0.85 or higher. When we talk about what bacteria needs to grow, we use the term potentially hazardous food. These are foods that have the potential to cause foodborne illness if not handled properly. They are typically high in protein or carbohydrates, moist, have a slightly acidic or slightly neutral pH, and have a history of causing foodborne illness outbreaks. As you can see, these foods meet most of the FAT-TOM criteria.
Well, I hope that little video gave you enough insight on food safety practices, or rather points to handle while handling food and beverage. A mention here on the reference books that I have used to make my presentation: Food Hygiene and Sanitation by Sunitra Rode. The YouTube courtesy video is by Barbecue Talks, and the image source is by Bing Image Search. There will be a quiz link attached at the end of my YouTube presentation. Kindly you do attempt the quiz link so as to understand how far you have understood the presentation. I end my presentation here by giving a vote of thank you for all your kind attention to my video. I do hope you enjoyed the video and has given you a clear insight on the points to take care while handling foods. Thank you.